Yeah, let's talk about fears. Yeah, let's talk about love. Yeah, I got fears, but I ain't got no love.
Casey Anthony, hate to bring up her name again because she's 100% guilty. That's my belief. That's based on the evidence that I've seen. Yet, there's a lesson to be learned. This new documentary came out that I talked about in episode number 1 of this show. When a new documentary becomes available, or a documentary, they will spin that documentary in any light that they want it to show. In this case, they want to show that Casey Anthony is now telling the truth about what happened to her 2-year-old child, Kaylee, and that her father is responsible for the death. The documentary people said that she was not paid for that interview. You know, I'm not going to call anybody a liar, you know, without evidence. I can say I'm very skeptical of that, but I won't go as far as calling anybody a liar without evidence. But now, these people who called for her lynching, who said that she was no good, she's a liar, this is the worst travesty in the history of our judicial system, are now saying, well, I think she's innocent. A lot of these people are the same people that can be brainwashed to being in a cult. Keith Rainier's Nexium, Applegate's Haley's Comet, or whatever that is, and of course Manson, Jim Jones. I mean, when people ask, how can people be so dumb and be manipulated? Right there's your answer. You have it in your mind one way. You sit and watch a television show that's telling you something different, and just like that, you believe. Now you're saying, okay, she didn't do it. This makes sense. Well, of course it makes sense. If you ever watch a court proceeding, and you watch the prosecutor come up there and give his opening statement, when he's done, you're like, this person's guilty. And then the defense gets its turn, and it comes up and just refutes everything the prosecution just said. And then you're like, oh, she's innocent. It's as if the last thing that you hear is what sticks with you. You have to be able to free yourself from being manipulated and let the unbiased facts lay out the crime for you. Therefore, you can see with a laser focus of what happened. Now, sometimes you'll have doubts that you don't know, and that's okay. But don't get flip-flopped because one person is better at spinning their narrative than the other person. Now, that happens in court. Of course that happens. I've seen the OJ case. Their defense team just spun everything better. They were better attorneys. And I've seen it in my cases. You know, I would go and the prosecutor is not very good. And the defense, who they paid good money for good reason, is better, more charismatic, more showy, more presentable. Appearance. Prosecutor's doesn't have his shirt tucked in correctly. Chewing on a pen. Got a coffee stain on his shirt. He gets up there and talks in front of the jury. Then the defense gets up there. Fresh new suit, everything's tight, nice haircut, everything looks good. Who are you going to believe more? He's more credible. He has the appearance. It's all those things. I remember a study that they did on police officers who were shot and or killed in the line of duty. And the inmates, and this cracks me up when people say you can't get good information from somebody that's in prison. Boggles my mind. These inmates said, hey, we targeted who appeared to be weaker. Somebody that was out of shape, somebody that was drinking coffee, eating donuts, whatever it was, his clothes looked ragged. That's the one that we went after. Well, what's that tell you? So, I kind of went off track there, but you can't be manipulated by the person who is trying to spin the narrative, because they can convince you. Stephen Avery case is a perfect example for me. Now, this is a very controversial case, but I looked at the evidence, and from the evidence that I saw, there was no doubt he's guilty. None. Now, some of the things may not have happened the way that the prosecution said it, and I understand that. But this Netflix show spins it the way they want it to spin. Listen, I've been in television. I've seen it. The Hunt for the Zodiac Killer. Okay, for 6 months, whatever it was, filming that. It was spun. It was a narrative to get the viewer to believe that Lawrence Kane and Ross Sullivan was the Zodiac Killer. Did I or my partner believe that? Was that our thought? No. It was scripted. It was written that way. We just followed the script. It wasn't them following our investigation. Now, I hate to burst your bubble if you believe that. That's just fact. Okay? So I know how television works. I know how they try to spin a narrative to get you to believe a certain way. Not all shows are like that. But Making of a Murderer definitely was. And people fall for it. So I guess what I want to get out there is don't be manipulated. We all are independent thinkers. We can look and analyze the evidence ourselves. Now, if it doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. Reach out if you want it to make sense. Research it, or reach out to somebody who you think may have an answer and let them explain it to you. That's all. It's not hard.